My hands were shaking with rage the first time she tried it. This woman I'd never seen before, showing up right at 7 p.m., rattling my front door with some random key, acting like she owned the place, telling me she ran our community standards. I told her to get lost, and you know what she did? She called the cops on me. Yeah, that actually happened. But what she didn't realize was that the deputy rolling up was about to ruin her whole little power trip in a way she'd never see coming. Let me back up a sec and tell you how all this started. It was a cold Tuesday morning in February. I'm out there on my knees in the dirt, installing sprinkler heads for a memorial garden I built for my late wife, just trying to bring a little peace back into my life. When I hear that sound, the confident click of high heels on concrete, the shuffle of paperwork, the kind of approach you only get from someone who thinks they're in charge. I look up, and there she is, business suit, leather portfolio, fake badge gleaming like she'd polished it just for this moment. She walks right up, all smiles. Good morning, you must be Mr. Porter. I'm Courtney Mitchell, your community standards director here at Oakage. Her smile was so bright it could have powered half the block, but there was something sharp underneath it. She whips open that portfolio, and out comes a stack of paperwork thick enough to choke a horse. Property compliance issues that transferred with your purchase. She talked like she was handing me the keys to a city, but 35 years of reading technical specs taught me to spot a scam a mile away. The whole presentation was just off. Too many details that didn't line up, legal-sounding language that didn't mean a thing when you really read it. She pushes this community standards manual at me, cover all embossed, inside loaded with color photos and legal threats. And then she tells me, just as casual as you please, there's a $350 unpaid assessment, $250 monthly fee going forward, and oh by the way, I've got master key access for quarterly safety inspections. She shows me a whole ring of fresh-cut keys, like she's got access to every house on the block. Now, maybe she thought I'd just nod along and pay up, but I started asking questions. Where's the HOA paperwork? Who's on the board? When was this all set up? And all I got back was a bunch of deflections. All documentation is filed at the county level. My role is local enforcement, and on and on. No proof, just a lot of fancy talk. She used words like established procedures and community covenant, but she never once produced an actual document that meant anything. As she marched me around the neighborhood pointing out improvements, identical beige fences, black mailboxes lined up with military precision, garden stones all the same shape and color, it hit me. This wasn't pride, this was forced conformity. She even had before and after photos like she was proud of turning everyone's homes into clones. That's when Betty Harper popped over from next door. Betty, who's seen everything and forgets nothing. She waits till Courtney leaves, then pulls me aside with this look in her eye like I'm about to get the real story. Out comes her phone, and man, she's got evidence. Photos, recordings, months' worth of notes. Betty lays it all out. Courtney had made Mrs. Rodriguez's life miserable for 9 months until she moved away. Betty shows me violation letters, dozens, all with the same typos, mismatched fonts, and legal citations that didn't even exist. Turns out Courtney had been patrolling the neighborhood daily, inventing violations, snapping photos, measuring fences, writing up fake fines, and collecting cash from everyone. All the compliance wasn't voluntary, it was fear. That night, sitting in my kitchen with Courtney's manual spread out like some kind of bad joke, I realized this wasn't just an annoying neighbor. It was a full-blown scam. She'd faked an entire authority structure, and for 8 months nobody had called her bluff. People had paid her thousands because she looked official and sounded official, and it's amazing how much that counts when nobody wants to make waves. I texted my son Daniel, he's a deputy, and told him what was going on. His advice was simple: document everything. Don't trust her for a second. The next day, I went to City Hall. Turns out, no HOA existed for Oakage. None. No legal standing, no authority, nothing but basic city codes. I should have just confronted her right then, but instead I played it safe, paid the $250 for that month, thinking I'd build a legal case. She showed up that afternoon, all smiles, wrote me a receipt. Fine print says I'm giving her permission for quarterly inspections. I'd just given her what she wanted, a paper trail that looked like I'd agreed to let her into my house whenever she wanted. Then she showed up with her handyman, Jake, saying they needed to measure my fence and inspect the garage. Compliance, of course. Jake's a good guy, but he looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. As they measured, Jake kept apologizing under his breath, and I caught him on the phone, giving Courtney details about my property layout, access points, electrical panel. This wasn't about compliance, it was surveillance. Worse, the neighbors were divided. Susan Mills was all in on Courtney's authority. She's keeping our values up, why fight it? While Rick Coleman admitted he'd paid almost $2,000 in fees just to avoid drama. Betty was the only one who really saw through it. But after that second inspection, Courtney called me. This time, her tone changed. Mr. Porter, I'm worried you may be experiencing age-related confusion after your wife's passing. Maybe your son should join future meetings. She was gaslighting me, trying to make me doubt my own mind. I sent Daniel more evidence, and he told me to keep pushing, but never let her in without a court order. The next day, Courtney escalated. Emergency procedures, she called it, 48 hours, or she'd invoke them. What HOA needs emergency procedures to break into your house? None. That's what kept echoing in my mind. From there, it became psychological warfare. Courtney stopped showing up, started sending official-looking letters, final warnings, threats of community action, even notices sent by certified mail. All fake, but so real-looking you'd almost believe them yourself. My new security cameras caught her and Jake across the street, coaching each other. Just say the foundation looks unstable. If he pushes back, escalate. This was manufactured evidence, weaponized intimidation. Then came the meeting at Susan's house, supposed to be for neighborhood harmony. Courtney brought charts, graphs, stats about property value increases and resident satisfaction, but when I asked for real documentation, board minutes, financial reports, she dodged. Made it sound like I was selfish for caring about paperwork. But then Betty stood up, quiet, unassuming Betty, holding up her phone and announcing she had months of video proof. The room went dead silent. Betty played audio of Courtney coaching Jake, footage of her patrolling, documenting everyone's homes for violations. Suddenly, other neighbors chimed in. Fake fines, made-up problems, months of intimidation. Rick admitted he'd paid just to avoid trouble. Susan started to look genuinely shaken. Jake finally confessed. He'd been paid by Courtney to invent problems, document vulnerabilities, and call 911 if the keys didn't work on the night of the big emergency procedure. She had a whole script, claim I was a danger to myself, get the police involved, create a scene that would scare everyone into compliance. The scam was deeper than anyone realized. She'd been researching residents for isolation, financial struggles, even avoiding homes where there might be law enforcement connections. Lucky for me, she missed Daniel. By Tuesday evening, tension hung over the cul-de-sac like storm clouds. Neighbors were out, phones charged, everyone waiting to see what Courtney would try. But before her show could even start, my security cameras caught her sneaking around my back gate, trying different keys, photographing my locks. Clear as day, she was planning a break-in. At 7 o'clock sharp, she marched up my driveway, clipboard and keys ready, performance flawless. Mr. Porter, under Article 12, I have master key access for mandatory inspection. The neighbors circled around. I stepped to the door, stayed just inside, and told her loud enough for everyone to hear. You're attempting criminal trespass under Texas Penal Code 30.02. There's no HOA. Municipal records prove it. Everything's being recorded for law enforcement. She doubled down, of course, waving the clipboard, citing fake regulations. But then came the best moment of my life. She tried the first key. Nothing. Second, nothing. By the time she hit the 10th, her hands were shaking, sweat pouring down her face. Betty yelled from her window. Those keys never worked on anyone's house. Rick erupted. You stole $1,750 from my family. Phones were everywhere, neighbors recording her meltdown as she started screaming. I have legal authority. These locks were illegally modified. Then hurled her keys at my door and her clipboard onto the driveway. Her last desperate move? Calling 911, claiming the neighborhood had turned into a mob, accusing me of being mentally unstable and everyone else of harassment. But when the county patrol car pulled up, the look on her face when Daniel stepped out in full deputy uniform. I'll never forget it. She ran up to him, waving her badge and screaming about community standards. Daniel looked at me, then at her, then back to the chaos. Front door dented, papers blowing in the wind, 15 neighbors with their phones out, and with perfect calm said, "Hi, Dad. Backup is on the way." The silence was electric. Then Betty shouted, "Courtney called the cops on a cop's dad." The laughter and cheering could have been heard 3 blocks over. Courtney lost it, lunging at me, screaming about conspiracies. Daniel calmly stepped between us and had her detained. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for assault, criminal trespass, impersonation of a public servant, false alarm to police, and attempted breaking and entering." As she was cuffed, she kept shouting, "I was helping this neighborhood. You'll regret this." But her reign was over. The investigation uncovered even more. Fake websites, forged documents, thousands stolen from vulnerable residents. Not just here, but in other neighborhoods, too. Jake turned over everything, confessed to his role. Betty's recordings became prime evidence. In the end, Courtney got slapped with felony charges, 18 months probation, $35,000 in restitution, 90 days in jail, banned from ever contacting any of us again. You want to know what real community looks like? It's not beige fences and fake authority. It's neighbors planting flowers in my late wife's garden, kids playing safely, Betty having coffee with me on the porch, people coming together to help, not out of fear, but out of choice. Rick set up a spreadsheet to help everyone file for restitution. Susan threw herself into helping neighbors recover from months of manipulation, guilt driving her to become the most committed community advocate you could imagine. Margaret's garden became our gathering place. No more clipboards, no more threats, just people working together because they wanted to, not because they were scared. And when new folks moved into Courtney's old house, a young military family, they asked, "Is there an HOA here?" I smiled and said, "Nope, just neighbors who actually care about each other." Here's what I learned. An authentic community can't be forced. It thrives when people look out for each other, when one person stands up to a bully and shows everyone else it's possible. You know what I mean? Sometimes, the best communities happen when nobody's in charge. Tell me in the comments, have you ever lived somewhere with a neighbor who tried to run everything? What finally brought them down? Let's talk about it. Because justice, real justice, starts with someone refusing to back down. And when that happens, you'd be surprised how many people are just waiting for the first person to take a stand.